Oh shit, well you look at that. Julio Jones just got traded to the Tennessee Titans. He must have been worth so much. The Atlanta Falcons must have gotten so many draft picks in return for Julio Jones, right? Okay, so let's check out the entire trade. So here we go. Julio Jones gets traded to the Tennessee Titans in return for a second-round pick and Michael Thomas's dirty diaper. Now, you know what? Michael Thomas's dirty diaper is probably worth a lot of money. You know, maybe they can put that toward the cap. You know, I think that's a pretty damn good deal. The Falcons deserve a pat on the back for not getting absolutely fleeced in this transaction. This is a fantastic deal for the Falcons, right? Like, you can't go wrong here if you're Atlanta. What is going on, y'all? It is the Caveman back at it again with another video. And enough with the shenanigans. Yes, sir. The Julio Jones saga has finally come to a close. Julio Jones gets traded to the Tennessee Titans for what seems like not enough. If we're being completely honest, the Atlanta Falcons did give up Julio Jones for what seemed like a bag of pennies. This transaction really was not all that surprising since the Titans emerged as a favorite to land Julio Jones, especially after A.J. Brown really took it upon himself to do his best to recruit Julio Jones. He made a whole TikTok and everything trying to get Julio Jones to come to the Tennessee Titans because A.J. Brown is like this humongous fan of Julio Jones. He's like his idol. He wears Julio Jones' jersey to warm up. He loves Julio Jones, and he did his best to recruit Julio Jones to the Tennessee Titans, and I would say A.J. Brown was pretty damn successful. So that's good for A.J. Brown. I'm happy to see his dream finally came true, but let's talk about the vibe of today before we get into anything else. Mott's Applesauce is the vibe of today. You can't go wrong when you know the drill around here. Mott's Applesauce, you can never go wrong with your Mott's Applesauce. If you ever need a versatile food, if you're ever thirsty and hungry at the same time, get you some Mott's Applesauce. Alright, so let's hop right into it. What was the exact trade? So the exact trade was the Atlanta Falcons receiving a 2022 second-round pick and a 2023 fourth-round pick. In return, the Titans received Julio Jones and a sixth-rounder in 2023. And on the surface, you're probably thinking right away that this is just simply not enough for a generational talent like Julio Jones. And it is not enough. I mean, there's no other way to put it. But the Falcons had their back against the wall because this is the important part of the trade. The Titans take on $15.3 million of Julio Jones' salary, and the Falcons are left with $7.7 million in a dead cap hit. And that is by far the most important part of the entire transaction. The Atlanta Falcons basically had their backs up against the wall to the point where they just had to pretty much give him away because they needed to free up some money in order to sign some other players, especially rookies, to their rookie deals. They had pretty much no other choice but to give away Julio Jones. And it sucks because they really did not receive anywhere near what Julio Jones' true value should be. And that is just the unfortunate reality for how the Julio Jones saga played out for the Atlanta Falcons. They were basically forced to hand over Julio Jones to whoever their suitor might have been. It just happened to be the Tennessee Titans. I'm a Falcons fan right now. I'm feeling pretty bad about myself because over the last 3 or 4 years now, things have not gone necessarily their way. They went from being in a Super Bowl to blowing a horrendously large lead to the New England Patriots and losing in overtime, to then being a very bad team for the next 2 or 3 years, to then just giving away their generational talent at wide receiver in Julio Jones for a bag of pennies. It's been a pretty rough 5 years for the Atlanta Falcons. I feel pretty bad for their fans, if I'm being honest here. But that's enough about the Atlanta Falcons. Let's talk about how Julio Jones to the Tennessee Titans affects not only the Titans, but the AFC as well as the rest of the NFL. Now, I really shouldn't have to explain to you how scary this actually is for everybody that's not associated with the Tennessee Titans. This is about as scary as it gets. A.J. Brown and Julio Jones together is by far the best wide receiver duo that we have in the NFL today, and I think it will be the best wide receiver duo that we see for a very long time. I mean, Julio Jones is a top 5, borderline top 3 wide receiver right now if he just didn't get injured all the time, and A.J. Brown is arguably a top 7 to top 10 wide receiver, and you do not very often see 2 top 10 wide receivers on the same team. You just don't see that very often. That's like some EA Madden franchise mode bullshit that we're on right now. That is what the Tennessee Titans are doing. And on top of both of those guys, Derrick Henry's still on the damn team. They're still a run-first offense. Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, and A.J. Brown, that is literally EA Madden franchise bullshit to a T. I think it is pretty safe to say that the Tennessee Titans are a playoff team, but are they Super Bowl contenders? Thankfully, real life is nowhere near comparable to EA Madden franchise mode. You just can't stick 3 superstars in the NFL on the same offense and expect to punch your immediate bid to the Super Bowl. Every single team in the NFL has to deal with their own obstacles, and the Tennessee Titans are no exception to that. The biggest obstacle that the Tennessee Titans are going going to have to overcome in order to be Super Bowl contenders is injury. Will they be able to stay healthy is the biggest question. Obviously, I understand that every single team runs the risk of having their star players, or any player for that matter, go down with a season-ending injury. Every single team runs that risk week in and week out. But in this specific case for the Tennessee Titans, it is a little bit different. Julio Jones is not only coming in with his very elite skill set, he's coming in with a very high risk of re-injury. Everybody and their mother knows that Julio Jones missed a large sum of last season due to a hamstring injury that just did not go away. He could not stay healthy last year for his life. And a hamstring injury is just one of those injuries that feel like they never officially go away. I'm sure at this point in time, Julio Jones feels great. He's been practicing and probably training in the entire offseason to make sure his hamstring is extremely strong and healthy, but I just feel like it's one of those things where once you tweak it once, you could all of a sudden tweak it again out of nowhere. So yeah, Julio Jones has a very high risk of re-injuring himself, and hopefully that does not happen. I want to see him healthy. I want to see him playing. The NFL is better when he's on the field because he can do some pretty magical things. And obviously, it does not have to be said, but the Tennessee Titans are, of course, the last team that want to see Julio Jones go down with an injury. They're paying him a large sum of money to give them a good shot at the Super Bowl. If he goes down, their Super Bowl chances probably go down with him. So staying healthy is the first obstacle that the Tennessee Titans are going to have to overcome next season. And the second obstacle, well, it's their own damn defense. As I'm sure you're already aware of, the Tennessee Titans defense last year was bottom of the barrel. They ranked 24th in points allowed and 28th in yards allowed. They could not stop jack shit. And the fact that that team went 11-5 last year and they had a defense that was that bad just goes to show how good their offense actually was, right? And they're adding Julio Jones on top of that already top 5 offense. That is just pure fear. Like, I am scared. So if the Titans could put together a defense that is halfway respectable this season, I have no problem deeming them Super Bowl contenders. They added Bud Dupree to help the pass rush. They drafted Caleb Farley, who also has to stay healthy himself, and they also added veteran Janoris Jenkins. So maybe these offseason additions will help them take that extra step on the defensive side of the ball to being halfway decent. And if that's the case and the Titans get their shit together on the defensive side of the ball and Julio Jones stays healthy, well, the NFL is in for a wild ride because the Tennessee Titans are going to be bullying their way through the regular season. I don't know who they're going to lose to. Like, I'm being completely honest here. The Tennessee Titans are going to be a force to be reckoned with if they're able to get over those two obstacles. But after seeing Julio Jones get traded away for a bag of peanuts, I can only wonder as a Bills fan if Brandon Beane even inquired about Julio Jones' value. Because Julio was literally given away. I understand the cap hit was enormous, but literally, he was given away. And yes, I just made up a word. Enormous is not a word, but I just made it up. I personally still would not have done the trade because I don't think the Buffalo Bills could have handled the cap hit that Julio Jones is bringing onto the Tennessee Titans. But still, you have to wonder if Brandon Beane even called because Julio Jones was traded for a lot less than what he's actually worth. Anyways, that is speculation that just does not matter anymore. The Bills have holes on both sides of the ball that I still feel like need to be addressed. I have already had that conversation of what I feel like needs to be upgraded on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. So if you want to go check out that video, that'll be down in the description below. So yeah, that's about it. The Julio Jones trade saga is officially over. Let me know any thoughts you have down in the comments below. If you liked the video, and I hope you did, please like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. If you want to hit the bell to be notified when I upload, I would appreciate that. If you want to go over to Twitter, follow me over there, I would appreciate that as well. I'm a part of the Built-in Buffalo content creation team. If you enjoy Buffalo Bills content, be sure to subscribe and follow them on any social medias that you may have, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.